Hey guys, it's me, the Silly Skeleton here again with some more radical anti-Hollywood rhetoric. And it's Oscar time now, so I get to shit talk all of Hollywood about everything at the same time. Now, firstly, this shit's gonna be real rambly, because I got several concepts to explain to the uninitiated, and I gotta talk about how they're affecting this year's Oscars, so I'm gonna go on some fucking wild tangents. Also, I am going to make a top 10 of the last decade list after these, but there's several movies I want to see first. Like, I ain't even seen Moonlight, or a single Sean Baker movie. I want to shore some stuff up before I try, so that shit is gonna be a little late. Gotta make sure it's a good list, you know, but I'll try to get it out soon. So, fuck it. Let's just dive right into the shit talking. Now, that's real easy to do because the movie that led the nominees and got the most nominations was Joker. Now, a lot of people have been talking a lot of shit about Joker, and well, it's not terrible. It's very well made. Everyone's doing a fantastic job in it. The score is good. It looks great. The problem is, all of this good is in service of, well, to put it this way, there are several times people refer to how bad shit is these days, so as not to need to elaborate any further. The big problem is emblematic in the first scene, as a matter of fact. Ain't it nice when it works out that way? You see our Joker putting on makeup while the radio talks about the garbage strike and how it's affecting people's lives and jobs, and then this is followed up by our guy getting the shit beat out of him by just some kids who are assholes, cause people are animals these days. Like, these kids ain't beating the shit out of the clown because of the garbage strike, they're just, you know, bad, I guess. It's just also this other thing. The messages get kinda muddled, or just not elaborated on, or maybe they never existed in the first place. For instance, the government is cutting funding for everything everywhere, but there's also an undercurrent that the people protesting these things are bad, because they're assaulting people in the same way that, like, the Joker was assaulted in the beginning. Unless that type of assault is actually good. And also, wait, are the protesters even protesting the city's failures? Or are they protesting Thomas Wayne for talking shit on live TV, who is actually not responsible for any of the city's problems and is running for mayor on a platform of I want to fix the city's problems? And yeah, he's an asshole, but like, is it implying he was responsible for them in some way? Or maybe he's responsible for other problems the movie doesn't elaborate on? Did the problems in the city just rile people up enough to start taking to the streets against the guy running for mayor? Maybe it's going for a no one is civil anymore these days message, which, I mean, that's a dumb as hell social commentary, but okay, sure, that's something to ground it in, but it can't be about that because it's very much saying that this man's, the Joker's lack of civility, and by extension, the protesters' lack of civility, are caused by the world being uncivil. So the thing that makes the world uncivil is that the world is uncivil, but it's only uncivil these days. Like, it's the same shit with the psychiatrist. Our main character goes off on how she was not helping him and doesn't give a fuck, and then she's just immediately like, well, our funding's getting cut. They don't care about people like you, and they don't care about people like me. Todd, who's the fucking bad guy here? Are we supposed to be rooting for the people with mental illness getting the help they need? Or a psychiatrist fucking quacks who make everything worse? Which one of these things is bad? Both? Like, if she's not helping him, the funding getting cut doesn't really affect him. But it seems to me you want us to think that the funding getting cut is bad. And I'm making a fucking mess of explaining the themes in this movie because when you try to hold them in your hand, they start to crumble into fucking dust. Yeah, the movie is kind of a mess. It's not the worst thing I've seen. It's not even the worst thing I've seen this year. There is some good in there. It's just, well, it kind of sucks when a movie like this gets in over so many other better movies. I mean, The Farewell got snubbed real hard, and this one shot from The Farewell was better than the entirety of Joker. And Joker is standing next to Parasite, a movie whose rich people are dangerously oblivious and see the lives of other people as commodities message was so true to our times that Elon Satellite Pollution Musk said it was his favorite movie of the year. Yeah, if you're out in the woods alone and you hear loud cackling, be not afraid. It's just me continuing to laugh about that shit. So Joker's leading the pack and has the most noms overall. But let's hone in on one, just Best Picture. Most of the stuff you might expect is here. Ford vs. Ferrari, Irishman, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, the new Quentin Torellini, all very good movies. Out of the ones I just listed, personally The Irishman is the one that I like the best, though I ain't gotten around to seeing Little Women yet. Greta might damn well change my mind, but really, the real heavyweight in this race is Parasite. Parasite is a movie I would call a universal second place. What I mean by that is that it's not in second place because there's just one better than it, but if people are making a list of top 10s, then number 1 is going to be something that really resonated with them. For me, that movie would be Ad Astra. I saw a lot of people putting The Farewell as their number 1. A lot of times it was Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and a lot of times it was Little Women. But then, all of these people, including me, are probably going to have their number 2 be Parasite, because yeah, it's just kinda that good. Now, I talked a lot of shit about Snowpiercer being kinda really on the nose back when it came out, and it almost feels like Bong heard that and was like, okay, here you go, this one's just all subtlety. Like, it's incredible. It's just kinda that good, and unfortunately, it's tough to talk about without getting into spoilers, so I'm just gonna keep it on the DL for now, but I'll put it this way, if anyone told me that it was unequivocally, unarguably the best movie of the year, I probably wouldn't argue with that. I would just be like, yeah man, I can see that, it's fucking fantastic, good choice, good take. It's an incredibly tense movie, as Korean dramas usually are, and this one in particular is a fight for survival to be led into the house of a family who couldn't care less about our protagonists or their struggles, which is evident in the methods they use to get in the house. It's a wide, sweeping commentary that thinks out its ideas and follows through with them. From the statement, if I was rich, I would be nice too, to the fact that our protagonists have everything they own destroyed by rainfall, while the rich family, the Parks, suffer the great indignity of not being able to go camping. It's also good to note that this movie is the first Korean movie ever to be nominated for an Oscar in any category, which is a little bit nuts. Yeah, a Korean film has been crazy good in the last decade, but it isn't super surprising that it got in. It's gotten nothing but buzz since it came out. This one was not the big Best Picture surprise. The really big surprise in the Best Picture noms is Jojo Rabbit. Really? The Best Picture? I mean, I thought it was pretty good, but I mean, if you were gonna go for a comedy, you could have gone with Knives Out. It was right there. But now, let's actually get into the discourse part. What's been really leading the pack as far as discourse is concerned has been the snubs. There are, of course, the ones I mentioned earlier that were a lot of people's faves. The Farewell, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, those are the biggest ones I can think of. But the big snub this year was Uncut Gems, which is more surprising than anything. It had nothing but Oscar buzz and a shit ton of other awards from other award shows, but it's nowhere to be seen at the Oscars. In any category. That's fucking nuts. And that brings us to my next part. The anonymous Oscar voter reminds us that Hollywood should be fucking bulldozed. Just about every year we get an article from a major publication talking about an anonymous Oscar voter, and they're always terrible. Like, for instance, last year's an old-ass man voted for Green Book because
I'm tired of people trying to make me vote for something I don't want to vote for. I want to vote for the movie where the white dude fixes racism by making a black guy eat KFC.
This year's was a lot of fun. And it gave us a good deep look into how Hollywood operates. And that is always great for my show where I talk shit about Hollywood. Adam Sandler, while doing interviews for Uncut Gems, said, "If I don't get an Oscar, I'm going to do a movie that is so bad on purpose just to make all of you pay." Now, that last anonymous quote I didn't read exactly right, so to be fair, I'm not gonna paraphrase this time. An anonymous Oscar voter replied to Adam Sandler saying,
"There was this arrogance to Adam Sandler's comment,"
huffed a voting member.
"It's a lack of respect."
And 2 paragraphs earlier, he said, he admitted that, as with Hustlers, some voters may not have even bothered to watch Awkwafina's The Farewell or Sandler's Uncut Gems.
There are a lot of movies, a lot of performances per year for us to watch. Unfortunately, actors become brands. Sandler's brand, it just doesn't scream Oscar. But Leo DiCaprio's and Jonathan Pryce's do.
I would say Hollywood's getting weirdly bold, but this isn't anything new. It might be because it seems like Hollywood's pacification initiative doesn't seem to be yielding the results they were hoping for. Now, here's the thing. I still don't feel super comfortable speaking as an authority on the issues people of color or women face, cause I don't face those. So I'll try not to do that, and if I do too much, feel free to shit on me. This is the internet. I'm talking shit, I know what I signed up for. But I do know white people pretty good, so I'll just talk about them. So let me explain what I mean by the Hollywood Pacification Initiative. See, the 2010s, outside of Hollywood, have been honestly a great decade for female directors or directors of color. It's clear to fucking anyone with eyes that it's true, and to people without eyes. Now, the Oscar voters are all old white businessmen who just see movies differently than the new auteurs. Even outside of a racial or sexual standpoint, they see films as products, and these new directors usually see them as an art form. The old guard ain't watching these movies directed by women and people of color, so they don't usually nominate them. And then people complain about that. Now, the Academy doesn't like the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. It's making them look bad, but they don't want to, not have that be the case, really. You see, they don't want to change how they do shit because it would inconvenience them and be risky for their pockets, their clout because they didn't nominate or vote for their friend, and if these new filmmakers get too much power, the old way of thinking might be outvoted, and they might be kicked to the curb. So, what they do is, they throw them a bone, as it were, try to get them to stop complaining.
And the movie they did that for this year was... well, I think they thought Parasite was good enough because it was in a foreign language, but that was kinda it. I think they might have patted themselves on the back for Green Book last year too early, and then got mountains of shit for it, as, was deserved. So, instead of, listening to why people are mad, they're just like, I don't know what you want. Threw up their hands and decided, fuck it, nothing this year. Or maybe they were just like, well, we have nominated a bunch of black films, as they think they're calling them, the last couple of years, and we haven't seen the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite in a while. Maybe we're good. Maybe we did our due and can get back to it.
You see, it seems to me that the people posting that hashtag and who are talking all kinds of shit are asking for widespread, legitimate change. Actual change that doesn't go back, maybe they want the Oscars inviting people to vote and inviting films to be voted on by a group more representative of the film scene today, because, I talk a lot about the artistic integrity of the new Hollywood era, but shit has very much changed since the 60s. This decade's Taxi Driver ain't being fucking directed by Todd Phillips, you know what I'm saying? We got lots of people who have lived through the shit, making movies about what it's like to live through the shit, and they're real good. Speaking of a lack of the pacification initiative, they kinda missed a huge opportunity. It's a little crazy that Greta Gerwig's Little Women got in for Best Picture, but she didn't get in for Best Director for, no reason? I mean, you could've shut a lot of people up right there, you had a good win, but, yeah, okay, fair enough. Only 5 women have ever been nominated for an Oscar in that category, so it tracks, I suppose. But now, let's talk about the most divisive category and my very favorite to talk about. The Chinese fucking thing that nobody even freaking saw category. Animation. Let me explain that joke. In 2015, there was an anonymous Oscar voter article in The Hollywood Reporter, where a man was interviewed about why he voted for what he did. In the animation category, he expressed some discontent that the Lego Movie didn't get in.
When a movie is that successful and culturally hits all the right chords and does that kind of box office, for that movie not to be in over those 2 obscure freaking Chinese fucking things that nobody ever fucking saw, that's my biggest bitch. Most people didn't even know what they were. How does that happen? That, to me, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
What were these 2 movies, you might ask? The Tale of Princess Kaguya, the Japanesest movie ever made, and Song of the Sea, an Irish movie that wasn't even in a different language. He voted for Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 won. Either of those movies deserved it way more. And one of these days I'm gonna make a whole video on that shit, but for now, let's just rest and talk about this year. But, and I cannot stress enough how much I'm telling myself this so I don't go the fuck off, this man has been mocked. He will be dealt with on a later date. This year, however, is gonna be fucking something. What I would usually say is that the Disney movie is going to win, but things have really changed over the last 2 years. See, the thing is, Oscar voters don't watch all of the movies that are nominated, even if, you know, they're voting for them and that's their job. And this category and foreign films suffer for that the most, but in animation, they usually just vote for the movie that their kid liked the most, even if there's a movie like I Lost My Body that the kid isn't going to see because it's rated fucking R. Usually, the Oscar kids like the Disney movie the best, so that's what wins. But even more powerful than the Oscar voters' apathy towards animated film is their need to vote politically.
Oh, and to be clear, when I say politically, I'm not talking about like race agenda politics or like government politics. What I mean is internal Hollywood politics. Because, I mean, let's be real, these guys don't really have any, you know, principles outside of what's gonna make them money.
So, here's the thing. Last year, Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture. I mean, this was clearly a bone throw, and I didn't think it was gonna get anything outside of technical fields because it was a superhero movie, and I was wrong. Well, not that it didn't get anything, but why it didn't. The reason it didn't was not because it was a superhero movie, but because it was made by Disney.
The problem, at least for a few voters, Black Panther was made by Marvel, which is owned by Disney, which has turned every other studio into a box office also-ran. It will be even worse when Disney completes its takeover of 20th Century Fox.
And now we're supposed to give Disney the Oscar for Best Picture?
One voter from a rival studio told me.
Now, this also carried over into Best Animated. Spider-Verse won that. This was the first time Disney hadn't won in like a decade, and the first time the movie that deserves it has won in this category almost ever. This year, well, Disney took over Fox and canceled over 200 productions due to the horrible loss of releasing the most profitable fucking movie ever made. They owned over 80% of box office hits, and this is all combined with their forcing theaters to give movies an entire fucking screen for a set number of weeks, which both hurts other studios who want to get their movies into a theater, and hurts smaller Fox Searchlight movies that the theaters that would show them can't afford to give them a whole screen.
Also, this happened while I was editing, so you can put this one on the Disney is bad wall too if you want.
You know, there's a reason that everyone in the film industry or who likes film as a medium that isn't working for or getting perks like early screenings for good behavior from Disney fucking hates Disney. The threat they pose to the entire fucking medium cannot be overstated. But this also threatens their hold over this category. Firstly, Frozen 2 didn't show up. Toy Story 4 did though, and usually Toy Story 4 would be the shoo-in, but I think due to all the anti-Disney nature of things, I think Laika has the best chance of winning they've ever had. Missing Link might fucking pull it out. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Tune in fucking next time, I guess.
But if you were to ask me, I would stand and proudly say the real Green Book's the racism we cured along the way.
Now, I tried to watch Green Book, but I couldn't finish it. I got a good amount of the way through and couldn't focus because of one line.
First of all, Tony, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a musician.
You mean like songs?
Yes.
You mean like songs? What? What the fuck do you mean like songs? He said he was a musician. What was he gonna say? No? Not like, you mean like jazz? Or you mean like swing? You mean like songs? What is he trying to get clarified? Why the fuck would he say that? I mean, I could go on about how the lack of thought in this one line is indicative of the screenwriter's lack of thought of his general portrayal of race relations, but I couldn't finish the fucking thing because I couldn't stop thinking about that one shitty line. It's been a fucking year and I still can't get over this shit. You mean like songs? I feel like Ryan Gosling in that Papyrus sketch. Like I'm about to drive by the screenwriter's house to get a look at the man who wrote that shit's insane fucking life, crash into a fire hydrant, grab a lady by the shoulders and yell, "What do you mean? Do you mean like song?"